Phoenix here with the Europa League final preview, predictions, and of course, spoilers. So if you don't want this evening's matchup spoiled for you, then please click off the video immediately. It will contain spoilers. A lot has been put into this because prior to analyzing this football match, I was expecting a 50-50 game. So I felt like I had to put a lot of time into it to determine exactly what's going to happen. But then it turned out, after I analyzed and put it all in the algorithm, it's going to be a comfortable evening for one of the two matches. It's not going to be one of the two teams. It's not going to be a close matchup. There will be a clear and decisive winner. But of course, the time was still put into this. So for those who want to know how much in total was put into this matchup, 3 hours and 37 minutes. I was expecting to go around the 5-6 hours per game or for this game because I've had that before. But like I said, when I went into it, it became very obvious which team was going to win. So without further ado, from Bilbao in Spain. Of course, these are two teams who are heading into this with a missile league form, which is a common theme. I want to say immediately, I don't understand the disrespect. Like, yeah, it's a team that is 16th, taking on 17th, but they've performed well in the Europa League. Yeah, okay, well, the Champions League teams haven't dropped and neither team deserves a Champions League spot. It's complete nonsense. Everybody knows the rules before the competition began. It's only a problem because it's 16th facing against 17th. It doesn't matter. The rules were set from the very start. And of course, what makes this all the more intriguing and absolutely fascinating, and in all my recollection, I cannot remember the last time I've seen anything like this. It almost adds to the intrigue. The loser of this match, it's very simple. They would have had their worst season for at least 30 years. If not even longer. Probably more 40. But to the winner of this match, it salvages their season and it turns it into a successful season. Yeah, the winner of this match will have a more successful season than Arsenal, Manchester City, Chelsea, Newcastle, you name it. In England, of course. And it's all the more fascinating. Now, immediately, I want to mention one thing. If we begin with Manchester United, they've already played at the stadium and they've won at the stadium. That is a point. That is something that you have to acknowledge. I think it will help slightly. This is the projected lineup for both teams. I don't think Lindelof will start straight off the bat. I do think they'll risk Dalot. I think Mazraoui will drop, Dalot goes there. The weaknesses for Manchester United by this point are very obvious. I don't think the manager is good enough. I think he's completely out of his depth. I don't think they have an identity. I don't think he knows what the hell he's doing. And of course, there are positions here which are lacking. You look at this team and you definitely see a lack of goals, even though they have been scoring in Europa League, but you see a problem up front. Højlund is coming off a disaster class against Chelsea on Friday. That's one clear difference between the two teams. Manchester United, despite what Amorant and their friends will say, that they've been resting in the Premier League and playing their B team, that's not accurate. Spurs have been resting consistently. Manchester United, in these remaining matches, have still fielded a relatively strong team. So that cannot be used as an excuse. Is it their best 11? No, but it's still been a very strong team. Spurs, on the other hand, both centre-backs, I can't remember the last time they've played a Premier League game together. But again, I expect Mazur to go here, Dalot to start. I think they'll risk Dalot. Euro coming back is, of course, a huge strength. His ability with the ball cannot be underestimated. He was, for me, the most important player against Bilbao because he started most of Manchester United's attacks. And of course, the two midfielders who have divided opinion. I've told you from day one. Go back to the very first game in the Premier League this season against Fulham. Look at the performance Casemiro had then. Look at the performances he continued to have until the Liverpool game. That was the one mistake Ten Hag made. They made Casemiro a scapegoat. Far from it. He's Manchester United's best midfielder. I've told you this. Obviously, Bruno kind of consider him more advanced. But if you're talking number sixes, number eights, he's their best midfielder. And in finals, we know his record. 7 out of 7 in European finals. I think in total, it's something like 15 out of 17. He'll be up for this. He scored at the stadium already not too long ago. He loves playing in Spain. And then Ugarte is another one who has divided opinions. But again, similar to Casemiro, I don't forget, most of the Manchester United fans wanted Casemiro out. I don't forget that. I'm still waiting for an apology from Jamie Carragher. And many of you. You don't know anything about football if you counted him out. Clueless buffoons. And Ugarte is the same story. You can criticize Ugarte all you want. But again, you just yo-yo continuously. Yeah, he's limited with the ball. Yeah, you can't expect Ugarte to do what Modric, Kroos, etc. can do with the ball. But how many attacks does he kickstart? How many times does he win the ball? But in modern football, that's not looked at because these dirty losers, TikTok, cretins, EAFC playing losers who expect their midfielders and their attackers to be able to get the ball and get past all the players. Football is not like that. Open your eyes. But where are the concerns? Right here. When you play 3 at the back, it is essential that your wing backs have to be extremely good going forward. I don't see this with Manchester United. And as a result, you handicap the team. You limit the system. For Spurs, similar to Casemiro and Bruno, they do have one player, not quite on that level, but they do have one player who has big game experience. He's played in World Cup finals. He has won Copa America finals. Romero has to be the one that leads this team. Because if you look at the rest of it, there are concerns. Of course, the injuries. Madison, Kulusevski, Bergvall, all out. That's a lot of creativity missing. But what have Spurs done extremely well in the Europa League? Ange has been willing to adjust and adapt his style. Go watch how they played away Frankfurt. Go look how they played away Bodo Glimt. It's not this, oh, we have to put the line at the halfway line and we don't retreat. He has been willing to adjust, and I think that is crucial in also getting the best out of Romero, especially, and Van der Ven, who can play either style comfortably. Vicario, I trust more than Onana, but there have still been question marks, especially with the ball at his feet. He's a player who can crumble under pressure. These midfielders do not convince me in any way, even though Bissouma has looked a little bit better. So I do expect United's midfield to win that midfield battle. Then you look up front. Listen, call me ruthless, call me barbaric. It wouldn't be the first time. I don't think Son should be starting. I don't think Son has been good enough this season. I cannot tell you one good game off the top of my head that Heung-min Son has had this season. I can't. And I'm not the biggest Brennan Johnson fan. But I'm a big Solanke fan. I think his season has gone under the radar because he hasn't got enough goals. The work that he puts in for his team cannot be understated. Absolutely incredible work rate. And of course, he has scored in the semi-final and in the quarter. So there are goals in Solanke, certainly more on paper at least than Rasmus Højlund. Both managers, quick touch upon them. Like I've told you, I don't respect Amarant. I don't think Ange deserves to be in charge of Spurs either. I want this to be acknowledged by both sets of fan bases. Whatever happens tonight, both managers have to go. Because you guys are yo-yo. You're going to be in euphoria after tonight and you look at it short-sighted. Whatever happens, there is no way both managers, or rather either manager, should be in charge of these teams next season. Both have to go. But there is no denying that quote that Ange has said could go down as one of the coldest quotes in football history. He says that he always wins things in his second season. There's no doubt about it, that is over. The two camps, I've got mixed, at least from the outside, I've got mixed feelings about how they're both approaching this game. For Manchester United, I'm sensing a more relaxed atmosphere. They're joking around. The players seem comfortable. With Spurs, on the other hand, it is do or die. I'm sensing more do or die from them. And there's a lot of pressure. A lot more pressure, it seems like, on Spurs. Even though, of course, Manchester United, I mean, from a financial point, they need this Champions League even more than Spurs do, because they're going to be in big, big trouble if they don't. But that's the feeling from the outside. But of course, that's purely from the outside. I do think that Spurs themselves, or let's get into the game. I think the reason I've gone for a comfortable game for one of these two teams is because once one of these teams gets the first goal, the other one will crumble. They'll completely falter. I promise you, this is exactly how the game will go. Before I'll reveal my spoilers and the key matchups, why I've went convincingly with one team, we can't not talk a little bit about history. Of course, on reputation, Manchester United have more experience in these types of matches, and I do respect history. However, one thing which I think is underrated and looked down upon is Spurs are looked at this sort of like bottlers, you know? They bottle trophies, this and that. But if you do your research and if you look at the history, the finals that Spurs have had, 8 FA Cup finals, 9 in total, 8 wins, 1 loss. I mean, outrageous record. In the League Cup, whatever, irrelevant competition, 4 out of 9. But again, if you look at the ones they've lost, that United team was significantly better. That Chelsea team was, actually they won that one. That Chelsea team there in 14-15 was significantly better. It won the league. That City team in 2021 was on course of making history. Champions League final that they lost, completely outmatched on paper against the Liverpool team, and Liverpool needed to cheat to win. So I do believe UEFA Cup, they've won 2 out of 3. I do believe this Butlers, I think it's exaggerated. I'll get into combined 11 super quick. I went with United's system, not 4-4-2. I went 3-4-2-1. I put Vicario in goal, Yoro, Romero, Van den Ven. Porro and Udogoy, and we'll get into these soon, as my wingbacks. Ugarte, Casemiro, I'm going completely United midfield. I think they'll win the midfield battle. I went with Ahmad and Bruno, even though I'm not Ahmad's biggest fan. But I did put him just ahead of Johnson in terms of pure ability. And then I've went with Solanke up front. So in total, Spurs win it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. It is very close in the combined 11. But this is exactly how the game will go down. I've seen this exact type of matchup similar in 2020 between Sevilla and Inter. What are Spurs' weaknesses? Pedro Porro, and especially, but Udo, you gotta push them back. They can't defend. Well, especially Pedro Porro. He cannot defend. He's a complete shambles. But you look at United's wingbacks, and it's the opposite that's going to happen. Spurs' fullbacks are going to push United's wingbacks backwards. Spurs are going to have such an advantage in the wide areas, it will be uncontainable. Even though Manchester United will win the midfield battle, once these two push forward and they push them back, then they form a 5, and they can't counter and provide enough threat going forward. Finals are won, generally speaking, by two players, the goalkeeper and the striker. And sure enough, I trust Spurs' goalkeeper and striker a lot more than Manchester United's. I think Pedro Porro, Udogoy are going to have a great match. I think Romero and Van den Ven will absolutely pocket anything United will throw at them, in particular Højlund. United will win the central battle, but Spurs will get the ball out wide as quickly as they can, and they're going to cause Manchester United all kinds of problems. Brennan Johnson will open the scoring, minute 37. From a typical tap-in scenario, he'll get on the back post after, again, they'll push him out wide, and he'll tap it in. Again, we've seen this matchup. Like, as much as you can look at history, we've seen this matchup. There's a reason why United haven't beaten Spurs this season. It's a horrible matchup for Manchester United stylistically. Horrible. And then minute 82, Richarlison will head the ball to make it 2-0 Spurs. Very comfortable evening. Manchester United will not really threaten, and Spurs will emerge victorious. The benches, I do see a little bit more for United. I think, believe it or not, Garnacho is someone that can have a good game because, like I said, you got to push Porro backwards, but his end product, as always, will leave a lot left to be desired. I do think Son shouldn't last more than 60 minutes. I would bring on Tell or Odobert, but we'll see. Either way, a very comfortable evening for Spurs in Bilbao. Spurs will bring the trophy home. A lot of chiching, bibbling to be made here tonight. Spurs will be playing Champions League football. Amorant will be sacked, or should be sacked, by this time tomorrow. Have a great evening. I'll catch you guys tonight.